Hey guys, I wanted to jump on today and chat about a topic that came up in a live interview I did today. And we were talking about writing a book, marketing a book, and about the entrepreneurs that we work with who want to write a book to support their business, to generate leads or give them more credibility. And I know that a lot of you who have already written books or plan to write books are doing so because of the benefit that it will have for your business. So I want to talk about this discussion that kind of came up about what type of book you should be writing and some of the sort of mistakes we see. I was doing this interview with a friend of mine, Corey Walmsley, over in her Facebook group. She focuses more on book coaching and helping you develop your book and get it out, whereas I focus more on the marketing and PR side. And we had this really interesting discussion about what type of book you should be writing and those mistakes we see people make that make it difficult to turn that book into business or leads for your business. If you're here live, say hi so I can say hi back and let me know, have you written a book already or are you thinking about writing a book? Even if you're writing on the replay, let me know because I'm going to come back and check. So here's how I boiled it down in this interview that I did for her and that I thought would be helpful here. A lot of what people come to me and want to write is what would be considered memoir. They want to share their journey, share their story. Maybe they've been through something traumatic, or they've got a rags to riches sort of story, or just they've had a unique and interesting journey that they think other people can learn from. And that's where I see a lot of people starting with their first book is in this memoir space and talking about their journey. And I'm big on talking about your journey. I talk about building this expert statement and how you should be positioning yourself as an expert on your own experience and how powerful I think that is for getting publicity. So you might think that then I would think memoir is a great idea because memoir is all about your journey. And while memoirs can be inspiring and motivational, and the example that's always thrown out there is Eat, Pray, Love, but there's so many memoirs out there that are really inspiring and motivational. However, I don't know a lot of them that have built businesses. Now, certainly those memoirs have led to movie deals and probably paid speaking, but most of the people I know who've been really successful with memoir haven't necessarily been using it as a lead generation tool for their business. So I always ask people, what are you trying to get out of this experience in writing a book? Are you trying to heal by telling your story? Maybe you're trying to heal or inspire others by telling your story. And if that's your primary goal, is to get it out into the world to the people who need to read it, then fine, memoir might be the right path for you. But if your goal is to use that book as essentially a lead magnet for your business, and I don't mean that you have to give it away for free like a lead magnet, but if your goal is that you want that book to generate leads for your business, memoir might not be the right place for you. Instead, my advice would be to focus on writing a business or professional development or even personal development type book where you are focused on teaching the how. You're teaching people how to do something, how to get over something. You're teaching them something. Now, a memoir can teach people something, like you read it and you're inspired and it sort of informs a new way of living or a new way of approaching life. So I'm not saying memoirs don't teach anything. But I think as far as generating leads for your business, the more successful books are ones that we would term business books or professional development books that teach people how to do something, but layer your story in as you go. So here's the big difference. In a memoir, it's chronological order. You tell your story from beginning to end in the order that it happened for the most part. Whereas in a business or professional development book, you're going to teach people how to do something, how to overcome something in the steps that should happen. And then you're going to layer your story into that as anecdotes. You're going to use yourself as a case study to show people how to put the steps into action. And so a business or professional development book is a little more of a step-by-step approach, not necessarily a chronological approach, because it's possible that in your journey, although you got to where you are now, maybe if you had it to go back and do again, you would do it things in a different order, or there would be a way to be more efficient about what you were doing. The memoir is going to tell, the successes, the mistakes, but the focus is very much usually in a chronological order. Whereas a business or a professional development book, you're going to teach us how to do something in the order and through the process by which you think we should be doing it. And then you just layer your story in as little anecdotes to prove this works and this is why, or here's how this played out for me. You're going to use yourself as a case study to prove the points you're making, to prove that the system or the process works. Does that make sense? The difference between a memoir and sort of telling it chronologically versus a sort of how-to, and you don't have to call it, the book title doesn't have to be how-to, but you're teaching people something how to do it, and you're layering your story in, but it's not necessarily in chronological order, and it's snippets of your story in between this very practical advice, whereas memoir is all about you and all about your story and very much told in sort of a chronological fashion. So hopefully that makes sense, the difference. I will say that the ones that I've worked on, and I've worked on both, the ones that were a little more how to process system sort of focused have led to greater business opportunities for my clients than the memoirs have. Now, if your goal is to be a professional author or perhaps even a professional speaker and you have no other business, then a memoir might make perfect sense. But if you have a business that you're trying to generate leads from, I think look really at that difference and how it might be more helpful to do that business professional development kind of how to process oriented book, because I think that leads a little more naturally into your services, as long as the audience for your book is the same as the ideal client for your business. That's as a side note, sort of another mistake I see is sometimes the audience for your book isn't necessarily your ideal client. So you definitely want to make sure that those match up. If you guys have got questions on this, feel free to post them and I will come back and check later. And if you're in the midst of working on a book or you're planning your next book, drop me a comment about that and let me know what you're working on and what you're planning. And if we need to brainstorm a little, you need somebody to bounce ideas off of, feel free to drop that in the comments or shoot me an email, Christy@guidemybrand.com. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Thanks.